The funeral of King Edward VII in 1910 was, in a way, a gathering of multiple world leaders that in only a few years' time would no longer be meeting with peaceful intentions. This marks the introduction of Tuchman's book, and the relative beginning of the few years of planning and political significance leading up to World War I. One main focus, Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, was present, which is especially significant considering his involvement with the Great War. As one of the last peaceful gatherings of world leaders, the funeral of King Edward VII proved a significant historical marker leading up to the war, as well as an effective introduction to Barbara Tuchman's book, The Guns of August. Tuchman's book, The Guns of August, is divided into three main parts: plans, outbreak, and battle. By organizing in this manner, Tuchman provides the reader with the necessary setup to actually analyze the events preceding and taking place during the war. Tuchman's purpose is to give the audience a new perspective on the war and to go into the amount of detail needed to get across the level of depth present in the war. Media outlets primarily use surface material for the general audience. Tuchman's detail and depth provides that same general audience with the necessary deeper understanding of this great war. In the first part of the book, Plans, Tuchman provides the reader with the information concerning the process by which a few different countries plan to handle the war. Two of the main focuses are the Schlieffen Plan, which was German, and France's XVI Plan. The Schlieffen Plan, created by General Count Alfred von Schlieffen, was a plan for attack on France involving the breach of a Belgian border. Tuchman points out the strengths of this plan, but also points strongly towards the weaknesses. This gives the reader that deeper level of understanding already, and the war has not even begun. Also analyzed was the French Plan XVI, created by the French General Staff in 1913 for the French army to put into effect in case of the breakout of war. The following clip will help illustrate the importance of this planning period.
Hungary and Germany were allied against the other great power bloc, Russia and France. War between Austria and Serbia would mean war between Austria and Russia. That would mean war between Russia and Germany. That would mean war between Germany and France. And that might mean war between Germany and Britain.
The next part, Outbreak, begins with the scene that triggered the First World War. Some damned foolish thing in the Balkans, Bismarck predicted, would ignite the next war. The assassination of the Austrian heir apparent, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, by Serbian nationalists on June 28, 1914. Tuchman begins her in-depth analysis of the political, social, and economic events taking place in August of 1914. Tuchman discusses the actions of political leaders, the actions of the armies, and diplomatic affairs during the days of the war. Major focuses are the Kaiser of Germany, the US, Britain, France, Russia, and Belgium, and the leaders within those countries, which all play an important role in the rest of the book. By breaking down each of these points in her book, Tuchman yet again goes into that deeper analysis of what seems like a surface-level picture. Tuchman talks about the flaws in judgment and action. She notes the hesitation of the world leaders and the uncertainty that they all had of the outcome. Today we all know how the war ends, but in that time period, there was so much uncertainty, confusion, and stress about not knowing whether or not one plan of action was going to work better than another. Tuchman does an excellent job in making sure that the reader is fully aware and comprehensive. This next clip helps give a better picture of the importance of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
The event that sparked the First World War was the murder of the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife were shot and killed in the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo. The man who fired the shots was Gavrilo Princip. This assassin and his accomplices were members of a larger movement that wished to break free from Austria-Hungary and create an independent Yugoslavia. Starting something far bigger than anyone could have anticipated, Ferdinand's assassination initiated a chain of events leading to one of the largest and deadliest conflicts in world history. Shortly after the Archduke's assassination, Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum to Serbia. This attempt to exert control over the Balkans was also an effort to crush the nationalist movement responsible for the death. Unsatisfied with the response, Austria-Hungary declared war against Serbia on July 28, 1914.
In the last section, Battle, Tuchman focuses on the actual warfare in August of 1914, mostly looking at the Western Front, the Eastern Front, and naval warfare. This section of the book is by far the longest, rightfully so, considering it's the most complex area of the war when all forces are considered. Following the pattern of the previous two sections, Tuchman continues to focus heavily on the errors made. This still includes planning errors, political bias, unnecessary economic hardships, and the flaws of military leadership. Tuchman largely criticizes the trench warfare that took so many young lives as an almost childish and unrealistic form of warfare. Tuchman states that the military leaders relied too much on the offensive part of the game. Continuing to undermine military leadership, Tuchman even states that the French victory at the First Battle of the Marne was in some ways accidental and not a result of military leadership or strategy. Of course, this is definitely arguable among many historians. However, Tuchman is definitely consistent in her analysis of errors in leadership, and of course, lack thereof, throughout the entire book. As just one of many examples Tuchman uses in her book, the following clip shows the realities of trench warfare. Trench warfare is a very minute part of the Guns of August, and only analyzed and critiqued by Tuchman a little bit. However, trench warfare is a large aspect of World War I, and an aspect that most general audiences at least have heard about, so a clear understanding as well as a critique of the practice is essential. Trench warfare can often be overlooked or romanticized in today's world. A realistic and appropriate understanding of the practice is very important. Tuchman's thesis is that in order for World War I to be fully understood, a deeper level of analysis, and especially critique, is necessary to give the general population the proper picture of the Great War. Barbara Tuchman definitely achieves this thesis and probably goes beyond the necessary measures to get her point across to the audience. Unlike any history book, Tuchman uses her own personal analysis of many aspects of the war, but continues to present it as fact and not opinion. Unlike any historical narrative, Tuchman also does not stray from the facts about the Great War. As a whole, The Guns of August is incredibly successful as a historical analysis of a significant part of world history.